Hello everyone, we are Group 2 and our members include Cynthia Barron, Veronica Garcia, and April Marquez, and we will be presenting on the Oyster Adams Bilingual School. When did this program start? Due to the high increase of Spanish-speaking students from Central America arriving in Washington, D.C., teachers began to see the immense academic gaps these students were bringing into school. They also began to see that these students were not able to make any academic progress because of the lack of support in their native language. Teachers then began to advocate for those students in order to begin a program to help and support them. Therefore, due to the great influence of teachers, Oyster Adams Bilingual Program began in 1971 in Washington, D.C. What is the model for language distribution? The Oyster program is a two-way dual language model that follows a 50-50 language distribution. This model is implemented by one teacher, one language, meaning that there are two teachers. One teacher is the native English speaker, and the other teacher is a native Spanish-speaking teacher. It is also important to point out that students do not switch languages, and as stated from the subcommittee from the Oyster program, there is a seamless integration of the two languages across all subject areas. This means that English and Spanish are both highly valued and they're evenly taught, and neither language is given more importance than the other, but they're given equal value. The next two slides demonstrates how English and Spanish are taught throughout the subjects. Oyster is a K-8 bilingual school, and therefore elementary students and middle school students have different language distributions. In grades K through 5, we can see from the table that not only are the core subjects bilingually taught, but also the electives. Math and PE are solely taught in Spanish, science and art in English, and the rest in both languages. In middle school, students are now taught differently. They are also now offered the opportunity to learn a third language, which is Mandarin. The chart shows now the electives have flipped to the other language, and 8th graders are now receiving more English in the common subjects. Izquierdo 2011 explains how biliteracy is having high levels of proficiency in literacy in two languages, and because of the efficient way that English and Spanish are evenly distributed in the Oyster program, students are able to reach biliteracy. As we saw in the language distribution chart from Oyster, language arts are taught in both English and Spanish. Therefore, literacy is supported in both, and it allows to create that bridge to facilitate biliteracy across the curriculum. Oyster also supports biliteracy by implementing the whole language approach, which means both reading and writing are taught by using interaction and literature-rich environments, instead of the old way of teaching them separately and basing each on their individual skills. Instructional foundations. In order to best support students in acquiring a second language, it's important to fully embed not only the language they are learning, but also their own native language, and teach them simultaneously throughout the curriculum. Students learning a second language should not receive watered-down curriculum, but instead be held accountable for high academic levels and rigor. Teachers also need to make sure they are effectively lesson planning and implementing authentic activities in which students are able to make connections with. Lastly, cooperative learning is highly important because each student is a model for one another. Sustaining Oyster Adams. We learned from Ramos 2007 how important it is for parents to be well informed on the dual language program in order to fully understand the benefits of it. From the Oyster subcommittee, we can also learn how parents camp outside of school to have the opportunity to enroll their children in the program. As we know, parents are the biggest advocates of dual language, and therefore it is highly important that we keep informing our parents about the benefits and exactly what the program entails. We also know that teachers need that ongoing support and development in order to better help and support students by learning new strategies and new ways to implement curriculum. And of course, high academic standards. Every student should be held accountable, and we should never water down the curriculum for our students.